What's going on, guys? It's your average consumer, and we've been talking about the S10 lineup for a few weeks now, but it's finally time to talk about the S10e. So in this video, we're gonna go over the good and the bad. But before we get started, we gotta give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Away. Now, if you guys follow me on social media, you know I've been traveling like crazy for the past month, and during those travels, we actually got our hands on the Away suitcase, and this thing has pretty much changed up the way we travel. This suitcase has a high quality hard shell exterior, but what really changed up the way we do things is the fact that this thing offers a ton of organization. Ari's the one who usually packs us up for long trips, and she found herself really liking being able to have dedicated spots for certain items, and it made it a lot easier when we got to where we were going to find exactly what we were looking for. And we've been rocking with the carry-on size, which is of course carry-on compliant, thus the name. And it's been nice not having to worry about whether or not this thing will fit in a plane or if we'll have to check it. We know exactly that this thing fits and it works. Now, organization and high quality aside, what's really nice here is that this thing has some tech in it. It has a built-in portable charger, and you guys know I love me some portable chargers. This thing actually has a 10,000 milliamp portable charger inside of it. So if you gotta charge your iPhone while you're waiting for your plane, or maybe even charge an iPad or something, you'll be able to do that here. And it's got 2 USB ports, so you'll be able to charge multiple devices at once. And with 10,000 milliamp hours, you don't have to worry about killing this thing. And to be honest, I just like the way this thing pops out of the suitcase when you're ready to use it. And you don't have to worry about TSA stopping you. You can actually remove the portable charger, send it on through, and you won't have to worry about them stopping you for that. And this thing, of course, has 360 wheels, so you can get around the airport or wherever you're going with no issues. And this thing also has a lifetime warranty, so if something happens to the suitcase, you'll be able to get in touch with them and get that taken care of. So if you're looking for a new suitcase, there's 4 different sizes to choose from, multiple colors, and you also get a 100-day trial, so if you don't like it, you can return it for a full refund, no questions asked. But if you guys want to check it out, they have a retail store in New York. It's an awesome suitcase, and it's definitely worth checking out. And if you guys are trying to save 20 bucks on a suitcase, be sure to head over to awaytravel.com/UrAvgConsumer20 and use the coupon code UrAvgConsumer20 at checkout. But if you guys want to learn more, I'll of course have links down below in the description. But now, let's talk about the Samsung Galaxy S10e. Now let's talk about the very first good thing about this phone, and that's the price. This thing starts off at 750 bucks, and compared to the S10 and the S10 Plus, which are $899 and $999, that's a $250 savings, or $150 to $250 savings. So that's actually a really nice price in a world where we're seeing a lot of $1,000 smartphones. But what's really nice about that price is that you're very much still getting an S10, but you are missing out on a few things. And that brings me to my first bad. With the S10e, you're absolutely going to be missing out on a few features that you're gonna see on like the S10 and S10 Plus especially. But we'll talk more about those missing features as we go on. But before we get into all that, let's talk about the next good thing, and that's the form factor. With the S10e, you got a much smaller design. This is a 5.8-inch display, so you got a smaller phone here, but it is so easy to use with one hand. And I just love the size. That is something I think a lot of people will appreciate. A lot of people really do like a smaller form factor, and the ease of use is it's just on point. So I like this overall size. When you got something like the S10 Plus, which is a much bigger phone, you start becoming cognizant of how you're using it and the fact that you gotta use 2 hands sometimes. Getting to the top may be a little bit harder. You gotta hold it a funky way. But with this, it's just easy, man. It's just so easy. And even though it's got a smaller display, I can still watch my anime on it with no problem. Everything still looks really good. So there's really no complaints there. The overall bonus of being able to use this thing one-handed, it's really nice. And while that's good and all, I will say you do sacrifice a little bit here when it comes to the display. This isn't a quad HD display. It's actually a full HD plus. So you're not getting those extra pixels since this is a smaller and I guess less expensive phone. But I'm gonna be real with you guys, you probably won't even notice the difference unless maybe you're trying to watch higher resolution content on YouTube. But I will say though, there is one more drawback with this display. You don't get that ultrasonic fingerprint sensor built into the display. Instead, you have it built into the power button over here on the top right side. Now, if you're big on having the latest technology, that's definitely a bad, but in real life, I don't think anybody's actually going to care. It's a cool party trick to just, you know, put your finger down on the phone and open it up. But honestly, there's a really good trade-off to having it in the power button because once you turn it on, boom, you're right into the phone. And I will say, I do think it's a little bit faster than the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor. So it depends on what you're really looking for. If you're looking for functionality, I think this is better. But if you're looking for the latest tech and you want to be cool, you are missing out on it built into the display. Now, the next good that we cannot ignore, and this is important for anyone who's actually thinking about picking one of these up, is that it's just like all the other Galaxy S10s. This thing's packing a Snapdragon 855 processor. So in terms of what it's capable of, it's going to be right up there with the S10 and S10 Plus, which is saying a lot since this is the budget version, which is $250 less than this guy. Not to mention, you also get 128 gigs of storage, and you also get a micro SD card slot. So if you want to add to that, you can add up to 512 gigs extra. So this thing has got space for days. You're really not missing out on much. But that brings me to the bad, and it's honestly not even that bad. This thing starts with 6 gigs of RAM, which is nothing to scoff at. But compared to something like this that starts at 8 gigs of RAM, it's something to note. But honestly, my point here is this isn't a phone that you want to look at as a much lesser version of the other two. This is something that's just as powerful, although you make that small compromise with the RAM, although that's something that a lot of people will really even notice. But now, one of the other good things about the S10e is the fact that it has wireless power share. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, you basically turn your phone into a wireless charging pad. So if you've got something like the Samsung Galaxy Buds, which charge wirelessly, you can just throw it right on top of this guy and it'll start charging it immediately. So that is a really cool feature. Heck, you could even go ahead and charge another phone if you'd like, although I probably wouldn't recommend it with the Galaxy S10e, only because it has less battery life than all of the other Galaxy phones. So this guy right here is rocking a 3,100 milliamp hour battery, which is less than the S10, which has 3,400, and the S10 Plus, which has 4,100. So it's like 1,000 less. But I will say though, guys, this has a smaller display and it's a lower resolution, so it won't be that bad. But when it comes to that wireless power share feature, your numbers are your numbers, so you'll have a lot less to juice up other devices. But if it's a small accessory like the Galaxy Buds, not a big deal. But that feature does get a little less cool when you've got less juice to provide other devices. And I think the next good thing about the 10e that we really have to pay attention to is Samsung's camera choices. So Samsung actually chose some really good camera lenses to put on this guy. They put the ultra wide lens as well as the regular wide angle lens. And I am super happy with this because usually with these kind of phones, we see the wide lens and the telephoto lens. Samsung could have went there with this, but instead they decided to keep the ultra wide lens, which I think more people will appreciate than the telephoto. Because I mean, take a look at this, guys. If I wanted to go ahead and let's say just take a picture of something like this, I can take a picture of that. But if I wanted to just get the whole table, tap that and boom, I could just go ahead and take a picture of that. So just to show you guys one more example here, I can go boom to take a regular photo. Here's a wide. And if I wanted to get an even tighter shot, I can zoom in one more time. And you guys can see for yourselves. The quality difference here, this is a zoomed in shot. This is not something anybody's going to really complain about unless they're like an actual photographer or something. So essentially, I still got all 3 of my shots without having to move the camera at all, but without the wide angle, I'm stepping back, moving back so that I can get more into the frame. But when it comes to the bad, we can't ignore the fact that this thing just doesn't have that telephoto lens. So if you prefer to optically zoom into your photos so you don't lose any quality, you're not gonna get that telephoto lens here. And with the front-facing camera, you only get that single cutout up front. So unlike with the S10 Plus, you don't get that depth sensing RGB camera up front. So that means that when you're taking your live focus shots and you want that bokeh in the background, it's all gonna be artificial, basically be a fake blur. So it's all based on software instead of getting that depth information from the other camera. But that is the kind of trade-off you get with this guy. But I'm curious, does that impact your purchasing decision, not having that depth sensor and that telephoto lens? I really do want to know, what do you guys think down below in the comments? Is that something that's going to sway you to get something like the S10 Plus instead? Now, another thing that we are missing in the back is the heart rate sensor. So with the S10 Plus, you'll notice that over here, we've got the heart rate sensor. So if you want to know what your pulse is like, or your heart rate is like, you can go ahead and use the sensor here to scan it. Not something that you've got on the S10e, but I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. I've never used that feature since it came out, but you guys, let me know, is that a feature that you guys need? Is that something I should be making a big deal about? Oh, there is something that I forgot to mention that is a good and a bad. With this display, you don't get the infinity edges that you get with something like the 10 or the 10 Plus. Over here, you got straight up screen. It doesn't spill over to the sides. So if you like that infinity edge display, it's not available on the 10e. This is just a straight up panel. But to be honest, I prefer this phone without it than the one with it. I'm not crazy about the infinity edge display. It's cool, it's nice to look at, it looks futuristic. But after using this for some time, I'm not gonna lie guys, it just feels nice to have straight regular edges on the sides. That's my personal opinion. But for those of you who like that futuristic look of having the edges spill over to the side, that's also missing on the 10e. But I actually like it without it. But that about wraps it up for the video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully this kind of highlighted everything that's good and bad about this, makes your purchasing decision a little bit easier. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Till then, it's your average consumer. Peace. Be the cool guy. Don't forget that part.